So you know that we are a non-commercial station here on KEOM, so we can't air commercials, or we can't get to try to get it to anybody to buy anything, but we can get people interested in doing something, whether it be watching a community play, taking a class, participating in an event, or whatever we do. We are doing those announcements, and sometimes we even do it in interviews also. Those are kinds of public service announcements, or they could be considered promotional announcements or promos, which is what we're talking about. So promos, just short for promotional announcement, and they're used to promote something. So different stations use promos in different ways, and some of them use them in all of these ways, but they could be promoting something like an upcoming event. Could be that they're going to a club this Friday night. They want people to come out and see them. They could also be promoting an activity that they do. Maybe they're doing a contest or something like that, and they want to do a promo for the contest. Sometimes you'll hear short promos that are promoting the station's image, and by that I mean that they are kind of just letting people know what kind of music they play or what kind of information that they give. So I know that you will sometimes hear stations, they'll play samples of their music, and then you'll hear people talking about how they love the music on this station. That would be a promo promoting the image. And also sometimes stations will try to promote a specific show that they have on their station. I know, like on KISS FM, you will hear promos kind of throughout the day that are letting the listeners know when you can tune in for the Kid Craddock in the morning show or something like that. So we do this on KEOM by promoting what features that we air. We do air a lot of different features throughout the day, and you can actually see a list of them on our website. And we play a bunch. We have some that we originate here at KEOM, and then we have some that are syndicated. Remember, those are the ones that are produced somewhere else. They're sent off to several different stations that we air. So we have a long list of those, and even down here at the bottom of the page you can see our schedule of when they air. So now, thinking about the information that you have learned about promos and what's in a promo, what kind of facts do you think we will need to give to our listeners to get them interested in listening to some of these shows? Okay, so let's see how many of them you came up with. These are the ones that I came up with. You definitely need to give, of course, the name of the show that you are promoting. You should also give what the purpose of that show is. What that show is going to tell people about. Some shows have sponsors. That means that there's a certain group that helps pay for the research or pay for the people that have produced the show. And so if there is a sponsor, then you probably should mention that. This is another one hopefully you got. The time and the day that the show airs. It could be multiple times and multiple days. You, of course, need to have your own station's name or the name of the station that the show is actually on. So for us, of course, we would mention that you hear it on KEOM. If there is a creator or a producer, well, there always is. You always should say the creator or the producer of the show. If there's a specific host, that means if there's a certain voice that's always on the show every time, you should probably mention them. And then some shows have a certain length that it is, and if there is a specific length that every show is 1 minute or every show is 2 minutes, it might be good to mention that as well. All of that information that we just talked about, you should be able to find again on this KEOM website, whether by reading the descriptions or actually clicking on the links for the syndicated shows. Now, some other things that you need to consider and you need to be able to know and think about before you write the promo. Big thing is the demographics. Now, do you remember what demographics means? We talked about that kind of at the beginning of the year. So you can see the definition of demographics is the statistical characteristics of human populations, such as age or income, that's used especially to identify markets. So for radio stations, we can find out what age our listeners are, what income level they are, what education level, maybe their race, just about anything we want to know about our listener. And you sometimes want to know those things because you want to know, if you know who your listener is, you'll know the kind of things they like to listen to. So one big thing that we do at KEOM is we want to know the age of our listeners. So do you know what age our listeners are? KEOM's average listener is an adult, probably somewhere in their mid-30s, could be even older than that. I really don't know that there's a top age limit. But it would be someone that probably enjoyed listening to 60s, 70s, or 80s music when they were a kid or when they were a young adult. Now, we do also have some younger listeners who listen with their parents, or they might listen at school or on the bus. So you have to keep in mind that you're speaking to mostly an adult audience, and your speaking style should not include things that just teens or young people would talk about or young people would say, because that's not who our listener is. Now, another thing you have to consider is within your KEOM audience, who would be interested in that feature you are promoting. So we do have several kinds of shows on KEOM, some that would probably interest some people more than they would interest others. So for example, we have a show called Time Rewind, and that show basically talks about interesting things that happened on this day years ago. So this show would probably interest people that maybe are interested in history, or if they grew up in an era that Time Rewind is talking about, that's going to interest them. Now, we have a different show called Science in the Sea. That's going to appeal to a different audience. It's going to probably it's a show that's about marine science. And so that's going to appeal to people who like to learn about fishing or oceans or beaches and how that ecosystem works. So, two different kinds of audiences. You have to think about who is going to want to listen. Now, thinking of that though, you want to kind of combine them. What if there's somebody that wouldn't normally want to listen to a show about the ocean? You have to figure out a way that maybe you can get them to be interested in listening to a show about the ocean. So that's kind of the charge that you have when you're writing a promo. You want it to interest the people that of course it would already be of interest to, but you also want to be able to draw in a person that typically might not be interested.